Welcome to the Southwest Affiliate Stroke Bootcamp series. We are excited to offer our final 15-week course as a way to educate stroke coordinators in key components of their role, provide tools and resources to build and maintain successful programs, and to assist in building a large network of peers. Before we get started, we would like to go over a few housekeeping items. To avoid background noise, all lines have been placed on mute. For any questions, you can unmute your line by pressing *6 or type in the Q&A section of WebEx. Please note you will be given instructions on how to claim your CME and CE credits at the end of this course. A copy of today's slides and any handouts will be sent to you within a week of today's call. For future webinar offerings, please visit www.hart.org/SWA quality. Now we will begin today's webinar. Erica has been a nurse for 23 years and has worked as a registered nurse in the clinical areas of pediatric, mother-baby, labor and delivery, NICU, pediatric, hematology, oncology, and the emergency department. She was a house officer, nursing supervisor for about 5 years, and has worked in quality for 6.5 years. In the quality department, she has done physician performance improvement, organizational performance improvement, chest pain program management, and stroke program management. She has been in the stroke position for almost 2 years. I'll now pass it over to Erica.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this last session. I have no financial disclosures or unlabeled, unapproved uses disclosures. I'm going to be covering 3 topics today, time management, self-care, and then kind of the third part, the last part of the presentation is really for feedback from you with any questions that you have that have remained unanswered, any suggestions that you have for future topics or new presentations, and any comments that you may have. I know over the last 14 weeks hearing about all of this information can seem totally overwhelming, always keeping up with new recommendations and expectations and regulations for stroke can seem like so much. You can almost go home every day feeling inadequate and doing your job. But so that's why I wanted to focus kind of on some time management ideas and some self-care and how those two things kind of work together to help you maintain a work-life balance. I wanted to say a big thank you to all of our stroke bootcamp planning committee and the presenters that we've had over the last 14 weeks. I really feel it's so great to lift each other up. We all do better together. The group's time, wisdom, willingness to openly share processes and examples helps all of us. I know that, among hospitals, competition is an issue, getting market share and all of that business part of it, but the reality is any of us or any of our family members or friends could find ourselves at any one of our facilities, and just knowing that we collectively are raising the standards for care of stroke patients is awesome. And also a big thank you to the participants who have joined every week and asking great questions and helping provide that great feedback from all of our presenters. So the first few slides I have are just to have our survey questions. So my first one is just how many hours a week do you usually work as a stroke coordinator? And there's several choices. When I first started working as a stroke coordinator, I was still covering my previous quality job as physician performance improvement. So I was doing OPs and FIPPs, the physician peer review committee. I also was doing the chest pain program and the stroke committee and the stroke program. So I know depending on the size of hospital you are and what growth that you can have so much different things going on. So I just wanted to get an idea of how many hours everybody is working just specifically on stroke. And no matter how many hours you work, you can still have a sense of not doing enough, being enough, leaving things undone. So we'll talk about some tools for that.
Erica, I just closed the poll. You should have it in about 4 seconds, your time. If you don't see it, I can go ahead and just tell you what the results are.
Okay.
For up to 20 hours, 10 people. Up to 30 hours, 7. Up to 40, 8. Up to 50, 18. And 1 person over 50.
Okay, so that sounds similar to me. I fall into that biggest answer, the 41 to 50 hours. It takes a little bit more than 40 hours to get things done. So my next question is, if you manage multiple programs, and if yes, which ones do you also manage? I have seen a lot of people that respond in our stroke panels and different bounce back listservs on your emails, sometimes seeing the combination of programs that people are covering just stresses me out. I know there's so much to do, and depending on the size of hospital you are, there's a lot of expectations for doing different projects and different things in quality. So I was just going to get an idea of what combinations were out there.
Okay, Erica, I'll just close the poll. And what we have is 24 for no, 6 for chest pain, none for CV. We have 6 for, is it sepsis?
Sepsis,
one for heart failure, and 11 are other.
Okay, thank you. So that just shows you that there's so many people doing so many multiple jobs. Next survey question is, how long have you been in your stroke program management or coordinator role? And the choices are 0 to 2, 2 to 5, 5 to 10, and then greater than 10. I've been in my role I would still fall in that 0 to 2 year category. It's not until Thanksgiving that it'll be a full 2 years. And I've learned a lot over the last 2 years, but I feel there's still a lot to learn, and I always have that nagging feeling that there's something I'm missing or that I don't know. And there's such a wide range of stuff that you do as a stroke coordinator: clinical, education, speaking skills, surveys, regulatory, so it's a lot.
So I've just closed the poll, and what we have is 0 to 2, 35, 2 to 5, 17, 5 to 10, 8, and over 10, 5.
Great. And one of my last questions is, how long do you plan to stay in your stroke coordinator role? And it's kind of the same time frame. A lot of our committee has been in their role for a very long time, and it seems like this is such a job or a role that a lot of people find a passion for and stay in this for a long period of time to grow their programs and work on their programs. Some people find it as kind of a transitional role, and they go on to other more career advancement or other types of jobs. I was just kind of getting an idea of the longevity and where people are at that are listening.
Okay, so I just closed the poll. And 0 to 2, we have 8. 2 to 5, we have 19. 5 to 10, we have 8. And over 10, we have 14.
Great. Thank you so much for your answers. And now, if I go into this next part of my presentation, I wanted you guys to switch over from the polling tab that's on your screen to the chat function. And when your little chat box comes up, if you'll pick the tab for Send To and use either all attendees or all panelists, that way we'll be able to see your answers. I just want, as I go through these, I just want everybody to be able to share their own ideas, things that work for them, and be able to share that with the whole panel and attendee list. So my first topic, time management techniques. I love this quote, manage your time or your time manages you. I'm going to talk mostly about what works for me, but then a lot of other ideas and some resources that might work better for you, or tools that you can use to find the things that work better for you. Just like our stroke patients don't always have the symptoms that match where the textbook location of their stroke is in their brain, everybody has different pathways and tricks and personal psychology to manage their workload and time. Only you can do you, so take what works for you, and then if you can offer anything more to the group, I would really appreciate it in the chat function so everybody can see that, and we will go from there. So one of the best ways to find other things that might work is Google or your search engine of choice and do an internet search and just to find things. YouTube is another great source to find topics on time management, people talking about. There's so much information out there on personal development and growth in addition to just time management. I always have like things to watch later, so when I'm waiting in line or getting ready in the morning, I can listen to new ideas or new things that help me get better. So if you look for things, you will find them. My second favorite, oh, I didn't mean to click to that. Sorry, I accidentally clicked the link, I think.
Eric, I think the one that tapped, okay.
Sorry, I clicked on one of the links, I think. There we go. I did it again instead of the forward. Okay, there we go. Next slide, books. So this is just an example of a lot of different books that are out there on time management. A library card can be your best personal growth support tool. I feel strongly that you can learn, if you can read and follow directions, you can do anything and learn how to do anything, new time management skills, or if you want to be a prepper or make soap or build a doghouse, anything you want to do, you can find at the library. For techies who use tablets or e-readers or tablets, you can also join the library and check out things for free. Free is good. I know everybody has a budget. For information and education, there's so much that's totally free out there. You just have to put in the time and effort and the self-discipline to do it and to continue to grow. So I am kind of a big picture person. I have to see the whole of it before I can understand how to manage it. So the first thing I do as far as my time management thing is get a huge yearly calendar, like the big poster size. You can get these like dry erase or just paper, like it's a big poster. I have it on my wall. The first thing I do is put my yearly things on the calendar. So if I have survey or mid-cycle review, write those things on, and then from the yearly things, back time, if things that need to happen before that. So adding on, if you have opening presentation that you want to work on, when you want to have that done by, if you want to have your document notebook put together, schedule when you're going to have that part done by. If you're doing staff mock surveys monthly or as you're prepping for your survey, you know, all the meetings leading up to that, get those on your calendar. And then also just scheduling your own life events, your own family vacations, anniversaries, important birthdays. If you have education events, like you go to the International Stroke Conference every year, or you have a education event that you go to once a year, or your license renewal, or things like that, make sure you get all of those big yearly things put on your calendar, and then can work from there to kind of build your time. So after you have the yearly things on, then break it down to your monthly things. So you have your monthly meetings, your stroke committee, your medical service lines that you present at, your administrative meetings that you present at, any class or education dates, and then working backward from your meeting times to have your tasks that you need to have done for the meeting, planned in there so you don't have that last-minute stress, the last-minute preparation that you didn't get things out. And then scheduling your month-end tasks, finishing totaling your data, or whoever you send out reports to that is on. And then another thing is to build in your days after your vacations or time off to catch up your data. You know, never have your scheduling things, big scheduling things following when you're off, and that will have a lot to catch up on. I find it very helpful. And then from there, break it down to weeks and days. So I'm a big fan of paper and pencil still for my weekly. I know some people will use their Outlook calendars to do it online, or notepad functions with the little tabs. But I just have a small notepad. I find it very helpful to have a list and things that I can cross off. I feel like I'm accomplishing things, highlight things for the next day that I need to look at. And then keeping kind of open time, too, in your schedule and the things that you're planning for each day, for the random things that are going to come across in your email that someone needs right now, or if you're attending stroke alerts and you have one day you have 5 of them, those kinds of things. And then after I kind of plan my weeks and days, I forward undone tasks or anything on Friday and make my list for the next week and kind of set myself up for success for the next week and getting accomplished what I need to do. Another thing for time management that I think really helps is when you make that next week list on Fridays, that you're also kind of cleaning and decluttering your environment, getting organized, and then you know you can leave, have a great weekend, and then come back to work. You know, everything's ready to go when you get back on Monday. And feel free to jump in on the chat function if anybody has other ideas for their time or things that works on. So I have one comment, a big sharing an office and cannot put anything on the wall. They also make them small enough to put on your desk, so you can get one or on a bulletin board if you get a bulletin board by your office. So there's ones that are about 12 inches by 18 inches maybe. And that would be something that's a whole year calendar that you could tape like on the corner of your desk or somewhere where it fits in your workspace if you're sharing an office and don't have wall space. So that's a great question. And that's what I would recommend for a workaround idea. I also find it very helpful just to have the big year up to be able to look back and figure out meeting dates or when I'm doing minutes or things like that. So some other time management tips and styles. There's so much out there and different things that you can look at and see what works for you. There's tools called Make It Smarter that goes through different steps to manage your time. There's different sort of just self-management techniques that work. There's one thing that's called an Eisenhower matrix and you set a low-ball goal that makes it very simple to start and to get going. And on the opposite spectrum, there's one that feels called Eat the Frog, where you do your hardest task first, and then you go to the more simple things. A lot of time management techniques talk about bundling rewards with action, so they have those rules where you do 50 minutes of work, have a 10-minute break, or 25 minutes of work, have a 5-minute break, or do something for yourself. Some other things that help: silencing your phone for a time if you really need to concentrate and crank out a bunch of work within a couple hours. Block out your pop-up notifications, close your email, or just jot down things that distract you to get back to later. Closing the Outlook email I find helps me the most. Some of my most productive times will be when I close my email and I just get the work done, and then I'll realize, oh my gosh, I got so much done in the last 2 hours, and then, open my email back up and there's 20 emails, and that was what would have distracted me and not be as productive in that time had I have it up. The last thing is kind of going to be merging into our next topic of self-care, but environment. There's a lot of time management things about your environment that will help you, just creating a space that you can do good work in, and that you feel calm in and centered. and we'll talk about some of those things later. Another time management tool and just resource tool that I like to use is on social media. If you use Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest or anything, just getting some of the positive things out there that are popping up on your feed. Cleveland Clinic has a great site. One of the articles that they talked about was about steps for stress reduction, and they listed all these things that I think are great tips for time management. They talked about making mistakes with overwhelming to-do lists, not planning or scheduling your own life. We talked about that with a calendar. Not having a morning ritual, so whatever works for you, have your morning cup of coffee, getting ready. That's where I like to listen to motivational or kind of uplifting things from YouTube or different speakers that I like. Not practicing self-care, which is something we'll talk about in our next topic. And then not having boundaries for social media, family time, and personal time. This, other than managing your calendar, keeping your work at work and home at home, I think is a big thing that helps decrease stress. If you've ever worked with anybody who is always on the phone with personal phone calls, they're always about the drama with their families and friends and things going on, they can be huge energy vampires and just kind of suck the life out of your work. So just try to use some of these tools to be present for work and your coworkers and your patients, and then be present for your home, for your kids, your significant others, pets, whatever it is you have at home. So this now is our next topic, self-care. I like this picture. It just says kind of relax, unwind, recharge, rest, unplug, take care of yourself. This has kind of been my personal hardest concept to learn, and I'm still working on this, but I feel very strongly about it, so I wanted to share. This that we always hear when you're on the plane, put on your oxygen mask first and save yourself first. I think this is kind of just the fundamental principle of self-care. The bottom line is your work or your job or your family doesn't get what they need from you if you're not taking care of yourself first. There's lots of great quotes out there like you can't pour from an empty cup. I know it seems kind of counterintuitive as caregivers and mothers and significant others that it kind of seems you get the message that self-sacrifice and doing for others is, what you should be doing to be a good person. But until you're taking care of yourself, you can't really give those other people in your lives the best person that you are. So self-care is another quote I like, is not self-indulgence, it's self-respect. There's some other quotes on there you can kind of read, but another speaker that I saw talked about this as treating yourself like you would a baby, or you can think of it as treating yourself like you would treat your best friend or your family members or your children. We do things that are so bad for us every day, eat bad food or inactive, zone out. Would we try to feed that to our kids, or would we, treat our best friend that way? No. So we preach modifiable risk factors at work every day to our patients and teaching staff to educate patients about this. But modifiable risk factors are really all about self-care. So we need to practice what we preach with the modifiable risk factors. So when it comes to dimensions of self-care, it falls under several different things. The physical, that's where our modifiable risk factors fall into, have to do with the fitness and the sleep and the nutrition. Intellectual, so learn to live to learn. I saw a good program the other day that was called Building a Life, Not a Resume, that was very good. So this is all about your personal growth with education, things that you're getting better with, having a positive mindset. The social dimension is, about friends. We've all read the articles about how longevity, better social support networks equals longevity and better health in older populations. We all have those friends and family members and kids or whatever that just spending time with them fills you up, and just being able to be present for that and take care of yourself by spending time with the people that you love is important. The spiritual dimension, beliefs and values, whether it's prayer, church, meditation, Tai Chi, mindfulness, even just stopping and taking a few deep breaths a few times a day, whatever it is for you that fills you back up. And then emotional, it's kind of self-explanatory, and then environmental is also just creating your space, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. So environmental self-care, this is just a picture of my office, and I'm lucky enough to have an office space where they'll paint our walls for us, whatever color we want. But we all spend a huge amount of time at work, and making your space a place you want to be, and having those comfort items or pictures or a chocolate stash or a radio for music, plants, whatever you can do to make it a great environment for you is helpful. And then another self-care thing that I think is a really fun idea is our vision boards. And this is on the back of my door where I can shut the door and hide, where nobody can see it unless I'm in my office with the door closed. But vision boards are just a way of kind of reminding yourself your why you do what you do, what you want to accomplish in the next year, little reminders of, who you are. I think this is a fun thing to do with your kids. They can, make their own collage while you put all your visions and plans for the year. I think it would be a fun activity, too, for like a New Year's celebration or a New Year's Day. Have your girlfriends over, friends, with their old magazines and have some wine or whatever and put together your hopes and dreams and visions for the next year. If you're not into crafty stuff or clutter or magazines, just a digital vision board. You can use Pinterest and just pin the things that you want to accomplish or the little quotes that are going to inspire you for that year. Just remind yourself, where you want to be and where you want to grow in the next year. I think it's a really great idea for self-care. These are some other ideas for self-care that fall into some of those each dimensions, and everybody feel free to jump in if you have ideas or things that you do to take care of yourself. I'm going to talk about a few of these that are my favorite. So paddle boarding, that's my favorite activity as far as exercise. I love to be outdoors, on the water, getting exercise, getting some sun, getting the vitamin D. Having a morning routine to kind of energize for the day, I think helps a lot. Like I said before, I listen to self-help or motivational YouTube videos. Just find speakers who are inspiring or are very passionate about what they do and the things that they're involved in. I think it helps you just hear a broader point of view, different messages that people have that are very inspiring, kind of broaden your horizons, learn different cultures or different perspectives that you may not have never heard of. I think helps to put you in a great mindset and just helps for patients, talking to patients, and it may help you connect to a patient that has that viewpoint or something and know how to talk to that patient about their risk factors or how to care for themselves better. One of the indulgences talks about buying yourself flowers or plants, and one way to do this, I think, are there's all different kinds of monthly things that you can sign up for that you get delivered once a month to your house. So if you're into plants, there's one for plants, or they have ones for wine. They have one called Lunarly, where every new moon you get something to kind of set your intentions for the month, just based on when the new moon is coming. There's one called Buddha Box that has just different yoga type stuff or essential oils in it, if you're into those kinds of things. There's Book of the Month clubs, all different titles and different aspects you can get to just kind of have something to fill yourself back up. Some of the bullet journaling, that's a great one that's coming up on our chat list. Massage, I know that's the favorite for everybody. and I think the massage or the whole spa day is a great thing to put on your calendar and schedule for the day after your survey, so you have the day off to have a spa day. I think everybody should book that. That can be a very stressful time and a lot of work leading up to it. Anybody have any more for the chat? Different ideas?
Are you seeing the?
I saw the bullet journaling and the massage. I just see 2. Do you see any more?
No, I just want to make sure that those were the ones that you were just referencing to.
Okay, so nobody is sharing any more good ideas, but they're out there. If you just search for them, you can find all kinds of ideas and find what works for you to take care of yourself. Okay, now this is the part that is your turn. We will open this up to you for feedback on the Stroke Bootcamp series. Just talk about any topics that were not covered, more information that you think is needed from any of the topics presented. If there are panelists on from earlier, feel free to jump on and answer if any questions come up that were relevant to your topics or expertise. And then if anybody has any suggestions for future topics that you would like to hear on this type of format. There was one other on the chat forum that was a great idea about keeping a notebook to write down the to-dos and things that you think about as you're trying to fall asleep. That's a great thing, being able to put it aside so you can get a good night's sleep. One recommendation is for another topic is to have more of the pathophysiology and neuroanatomy and physiology. So that will take that back to the committee.
So there was one that was sent that wasn't.
Hi, ladies. Hey, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm in the car. I'm listening to your presentation. It's been wonderful. I have another just recommendation maybe, and this definitely goes along with like self-care and how to preserve your, I guess, sanity as a stroke coordinator. And just in my experience, I think one of the things that helped me so much was having a really fantastic relationship with my immediate supervisor and also just with like my stroke team in general. I think that building those kind of personal connections and relationships with your coworkers can go a long way, just because sometimes you need somebody that understands what you're going through and understands where you're coming from so that you can vent a little bit. Not to say that, you know, we should go around complaining all the time of issues that come up as a stroke coordinator that are frustrating, and sometimes you just don't necessarily feel like you're being heard. And it's good to find that person that you work with that you feel like, you know, can understand your perspective and can maybe be a voice of reason for you, or to just maybe provide another alternative view that you didn't consider. So I would highly recommend for those, you know, don't work in a silo. That's so important in this job, is like try not to be a stroke coordinator that's on an island. You got to be in the group. You got to know what's going on with everybody and try to be everybody's, you know, go-to person. So that would just be my advice.
That's some great advice. Definitely building a support system at work is important, because you do have those days when you need to get it off your chest or talk through things with other people. And there are a lot of, usually at least one or two other coordinator type of positions that will have the same kind of problems, maybe with different staff or different units that they're working with, but definitely building those relationships is very helpful.
So, Erica, it's Yana. So there was one that was sent privately that says how to do research is one of the topics, I guess, because they're saying they're presenting and submitting to ISC.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. Doing research topics, that would be a great. And someone else is asking for the same kind of format for chest pain or then that's something maybe the American Heart could think about doing the same format for chest pain coordinators on the heart side.
Okay. Let's see.
And someone mentioned they really like the C-suite buy-in, and they would like to hear that type of topic again. Some of my things that I thought of that I would love to hear more about from the experts on our panel, just data analysis, how they analyze things, how they look at their data, how they sort things or look at it from different viewpoints. I think presentation skills, we have to present at so many meetings, and presenting education to so many different EMS, community, patients, staff. I think that would be a great topic to look at. Excel tricks and tips. I think some people have the best Excel spreadsheets, and I'm very basic, so having someone talk about their tricks and tips, especially specific to stroke data collection, I think would be great, or sharing different ideas on that. PowerPoint tips and tricks, that's another thing you use for all your presentations. I think that would be a great topic, more generic, but I think it is helpful to any type of coordinator role.
The other thing that was sent would be good to instruct others on how to engage and access stakeholders.
Yeah, that would be a great one, like organizational psychology and how to work that all together. That would be a great topic.
Another one that was privately sent, maybe something on how to help change processes.
That's a good topic. So like a PI, performance improvement on process change, or how to break that down, different types of ways of drilling down on that, on processes and figuring out what works. That's a great topic. Like the different Lean or Six Sigma, there's lots of different ways to drill down on processes.
And I think we did cover on one, I don't know how, I know that there's a suggestion for a topic, and it's go through a typical 2 to 3 survey from beginning to end and what to have ready prepared at each step. I mean, I think we covered a survey, but I think what they're asking is more detailed.
Yeah, that would be good to like break down how the survey is broken down in the different sections, and then how each section, what you kind of prepare or who you involve like prior to the survey for those either data sections or HR sections or whichever sections you have for your survey. That would be a great topic too. And someone else sent one out. How to do research again, presenting and submitting to ISC, how to engage and assess stakeholders, and how not to send crappy emails. That's a good one. Email etiquette is always a good one.
So I know there's some topics that they're bringing up that looks like we've covered in our series. So just so that everybody's aware, we do post all of our 15-week series at heart.org/SWA quality. So this should all, there are some topics it seems like they're referring to that we did cover through our 15-week course. Let's see. And again, I know that we did talk about the get with the guidelines data, but I don't know if this person is referring to any data. They said, I would like to see a variety of data collection tips and why people collect some of the data they collect.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I've seen lots of people share different the things that they collect for concurrent data review or the things that they look at every single day might be helpful to share why they choose what they look at concurrently and why they wait for get with the guidelines to abstract things and then use their data points. That would be a good topic. For me personally, I choose to collect concurrently the things that I'm working on as PI projects and the things that I need to know right then, and then I can either compare it or have data specific to discharge diagnosis then when it goes into gets filtered through get with the guidelines. So that would be a good topic, and getting more information from people on how they do that.
So another suggestion is how to educate all stroke nurses throughout the hospital without dedicating it to NICU or NUO units.
And that probably varies a lot by your education department, what tools that you use at all the different hospitals. I know for my specific hospital, we use HealthStream, so I can have education topics uploaded to HealthStream, like I'm getting ready to add one now, so it will be assigned. There's different levels of stroke education depending on what kind of staff you are, so non-clinical staff gets a little bit of stroke education. All clinical staff gets like a little bit more stroke education, and then the units that admit stroke patients get, you know, core measure education, a little bit more about stroke, and then ED, the emergency department nurses and the ICU nurses get an even higher level that kind of builds from that. So just kind of being able to find that, I mean, helps. I know that every hospital doesn't have that, but that's been very helpful to me. Or just building PowerPoints, different levels of PowerPoints for each different area in the hospital, I think is helpful.
There's also suggestions, a checklist of everything you must do in your program, and maybe a list of experts related to some of the different areas of stroke as resources.
That would be a good one. We can talk about that maybe if we have a closing stroke for this stroke bootcamp committee, maybe putting together an email list that would be helpful. And then another comment that came up on the chat is research and writing protocol. That's a topic that seems like a lot of people have brought up that might be good to have in the future, the research piece.
This is Larissa. I'll jump in. First of all, thank you, Erica, for this great presentation, and thank you, everyone, for your responses on kind of what you want to see and us do for the next kind of series of education that we'll be offering. There's some great ideas, some great topics that we can expand on and definitely keep this momentum going as we're trying to educate everyone and give you the resources that you need. Just a reminder, this is our last session. We've made it through the whole 15-week series. So in the next few days, you should be getting an email from our Professional Education Center on how to claim your credits. We'll also send an email with a copy of the presentation from today and just an additional reminder to claim your CE credits. We also will have this posted, all the recordings are posted on SWA Quality. We will also have this available as an enduring activity for those who weren't able to attend this 15-week course right now, or if you have a new stroke coordinator that comes on, or a new nurse that comes on in the stroke unit in the next 6 months, they'll be able to also access these recordings and get educational credit for them also. So we're excited to offer it as an enduring activity. And we'll make sure that everyone receives that information on how to access those. But be on the lookout for the email on claiming credits. And if you have any other questions or anything, or if any other topics have come in, Deanna or Erica, please announce those. But I just wanted to chime in with the information about claiming those credits because I know everyone is excited to get those because you earned all of them, all 15 of them.
I think you answered it, Larissa, but can people get CE for on-demand sessions?
Yes, they will be able, give us about a week or two to get all of our videos formatted and posted over to our PEC, our Professional Education Center, but you will be able to claim the credits for on-demand. And we'll send out the flyer and everything once all that is posted for that to start being utilized. Any other questions, Deanna, that you've seen come in?
No, I didn't see any more come in. But I am copying all the, just in case I might have, I'm scrolling down through all of them trying to see if I missed any. But I am copying and making sure so that if we do think about the next series that we'll do, we'll have some suggestions already available.
Great, perfect. Erica, any other final closing remarks? If we don't have any other questions, then we can probably wrap it up.
Nope, I think that it looks like everybody asked and shared anything that they wanted to. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I thought it was a great series. Everything was wonderful.
I'm so sorry. There were actually some people that I think did it on the Q&A section, like instead of the chat. So, all right. So, just some of the ideas. So, and forgive me, guys, because we were doing our chat. Sometimes midday, if really stressed, take a walk instead of a meal. So that was like one of the relax, getting, to do you was one of the suggestions. Let's see if I can go through these. Let's see. I can't see this one. Okay, so they're asking if there's a link to go back and listen to previous sessions. There is. It's heart.org /SWA quality. And maybe you guys would understand this. PSC2S. I don't understand what that means, but maybe stroke people do.
Primary Stroke Center, and what was the last?
It just says PSC2S. In other words, PSC2S. So, again, I don't know. I'm not sure what she's referring to. The other thing is, and this could have been, regarding the poll questions at the beginning. Integrating neurosurgery into your stroke program and increase information on, is it SPONT, S-P-O-N-T, S-A-H, and I-C-H, patient care.
That's a good one. That actually came up in my stroke survey this summer. The surveyor was very interested in the subarachnoids and the intracranial hemorrhages and how we involve neurosurgery in our processes and documenting ICH scores and Hunt and Hess scores. So that would be a good one to have for a future topic. I agree with that.
Oh, here it is. Okay. I think she was typing in. It's PSC to CSC journey could be a future topic.
Yeah, that's a great one.
PSC to CSC journey. Okay.
So yeah, primary stroke center to thrombectomy capable, or a primary stroke center to comprehensive. That would be a good topic for a lot of people who are trying to start that journey or need help getting started.
And just to let everybody know that, yes, we do send out this information next week. I know someone said that they did not receive last week, so we'll check on that. Okay, data tracking feels like a constantly growing monster. Need help knowing what is truly important to track.
I agree with that. That would be a nice one to maybe do as like an open forum where all the stroke coordinators got on and threw ideas around and talked about what they collected concurrently, what they just waited for get with the guidelines to abstract, and different ways to manage that, and why choosing one thing's over the other or getting feedback from each other. That would be a great one.
And what we stated before, one question was how can we, if we miss the presentation in order to get credits. We do offer it on-demand credits, as Larissa stated. You go and you view the site, view the presentation, and you still get credit for that. Let's see. Review of TGC standards as they apply to stroke management. And I think we've covered that in one of our sessions, but they may want more detailed.
Great ideas.
It's just to let everyone know, we will, when we do mail, or when we email you the latest, Larissa, correct me if I'm wrong, do we send the link to view the rest of the presentations?
Yes, and we'll make sure it's a little bit more prominent in the email this go around also. We'll bold it for everyone to be able to see it.
Okay, I think we've covered all of the questions that were in the Q&A section as well.
So hello, Deanna. This is Deb Moats, and I just wanted to thank everybody for their participation, all of the great committee members who pulled this together, and all of the presentations. This has been, I think, a truly valuable experience, and the whole intent of it is to help our stroke coordinators to be able to just navigate day to day and to have a resource available to them. So I hope that this helps to fulfill that need, and thanks everybody. It was a great experience.
Well, thank you, everyone. Look out for our email probably Monday or Tuesday of next week with all the additional information and details. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thanks.